Today, we are using something that we're really excited about. This is such a neat material. This is Caesar Brick 600.
Yes, I love it.
I'm so excited to give you all like the review and just kind of like first impressions, but also like what things to look out for. We have quite a few different tips and tricks that you'll be able to look out for. We wanted to do this video just to help you all know what to look for and know what your experience is going to be.
Right.
I know some of you may have a gift card looking for some new material.
This is a fun one to experiment with because it's almost exactly like HTV, except it feels better in a way. Like it feels like more, almost like you bought it from a store, if that makes sense. Like it's three-dimensional.
Yes.
We've been calling it our Puff HTV alternative.
Yes. Now, I personally am not a big Puff HTV fan, but I was telling Alicia at the top before we went live about a fellow YouTuber, Amy. She had just posted a video, and I saw her like Instagram version of it, and it just looked really good.
Yeah.
I personally have not had a great experience with Puff HTV.
I haven't even tried it, so I think we've got some floating around the studio, so maybe I'll try some.
You should. And I would love to know your thoughts. It just really, for me, it like bubbled.
Yes, I've heard that.
I don't know if it was a me thing. It was the first live stream I did at my home studio, so we could blame it on the change of space.
It could potentially be that.
But it literally did me so dirty and made me look like an idiot that I was like, I'm out. I'm like,
you're like, I am shutting you out of this family.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So the Caesar Brick is actually a great alternative. And where did we pick this up at?
143 vinyl.
Oh my goodness, y'all. 143 has the hookup. Y'all are gonna love it. It is linked down below, so definitely check it out after today's video. Well, let's go ahead and pop over, and we're gonna kind of take a look at everything we have today. It's really not much. This is kind of like just more of a review and working with to do the shirt. We're gonna use the Easy Press today because it's on the table. It's easy. I feel like a lot of you have them. We have the Easy Press mat. We have a shirt. We're using a tank top today to test. And then we really wanted today's video to be about this idea. That was
if you saw the previous thumbnail, well, the thumbnail situation's a whole thing.
The title.
But we wanted to try the HTV on it.
Over it. Yeah, it just didn't really like wow us. So we were just teaching you regular brick. So we tried to layer regular heat transfer vinyl over the Caesar Brick 600. This is our review. We can go overhead and I'll just share with you. This is our review. Like, it's not terrible, but it's not it.
In real life, it looks better, and on the camera, it looks even worse because you can't catch the shadows really of this stuff. So the theory is like to layer the brick under the vinyl, and you want the vinyl to settle in the crevices. Well, it didn't. But Tanner. You know I did a video on printable HTV over brick, and it's amazing.
It is amazing. This is what it looks like. It's not very, let's go overhead. This is thicker. Now I would recommend when you are a crafter and you start using a bunch of different material, you definitely want to grab a sticky note and put like what this is on it.
Or masking tape or painter's tape or something.
So what I would do if I was you, let me see if I have it. Well, you could do it a few different ways. I got sticky notes, but I love Alicia's idea here, and I don't think I
don't know if we have any in here. Do you want me to grab some?
No, you're fine. So anyway, masking tape or transfer tape, you could literally just put a piece on here, grab a Cricut pen, and just put Caesar 600 brick. So you just want to label this. So that this is like the #1 tip about any specialty material. Glitter HTV, you'll be able to recognize. Almost anything other than regular heat transfer vinyl and glitter is really hard, and foil and things like that. But when you start getting these special materials, you'll buy this because you're like, ooh, I love it. Yeah. Then you'll forget about it, and then you'll find it again. I say this because it's new on our heart, because we have been doing this in our clean out. We got a dumpster and we are cleaning this studio out.
We are purging the studio, everybody.
There's so much. There's so much to clean here. This is the material. We're going to hit this today at 315, and we're going to do it in 20-second presses. And this is using a cold peel. We'll walk you through the whole process. It's going to be amazing.
That's like the cold peel is the only difference between this and regular HTV.
Yes.
I mean,
and I do not like cold peel normally.
Me neither. I prefer a warm peel, mainly because I'm just impatient and I don't want to wait for it to.
Yes, for sure.
But the results are worth it because it looks so good.
Yes. Now, so we're using the Mama file. Let me share with you how I'm going to find this Mama file that I've uploaded already into the membership, or from the membership into Cricut Access or Design Space before. So Access and Design Space are two totally different things. So come over here to the share screen. You're going to go to Upload, and you're going to go to View All. So you can see that as of being a member, you get to upload all your files, and normally it tells us how many files we have, but we have like over 5,000 in this account.
Yes.
It's a little obsessive.
They just updated the Design Space like this. I'm still getting used to all this.
I know. I like the collections.
Yes.
I like all that.
Yeah.
But you can see, look, I didn't have to go to Makers Gonna Learn's website because I already uploaded this file once. So I can simply click Add to Canvas, and it's added to Canvas. So I don't have to like press Add or go to Canvas. It's already been added, which is the new version. So look at this. I've already clicked Add to Canvas, and it says Added. So then you'll go back, and then you'll go to, and click it, and it's here. And Mrs. My friend, you have not missed the announcement. It will be Monday, so stay tuned. I'm so excited. So this is when you would measure your shirt. I'll just get my tank top, and we'll just measure it real fast with our handy dandy Makers Gonna Learn rulers. Let's just look right here. And tank tops can be trickier than regular shirts. So you just want to be careful about when you're measuring it out and things like that. So we're probably going to do about 6. Let me see here. Maybe a little bit less than 6. Maybe 6. Let's see.
I like to fill the shirt. That's just my personal preference, but sometimes people don't like it to be so big.
Right. Let's do 6.5. So, and let's see where that puts us. So 6.5.
LaShonda, we just are, I don't know if it's already out yet. We're doing a basic class on Canva, like a Canva beginner video. That should be either out or coming out soon.
I'm so excited.
I love Canva.
You guys are going to love it. Yeah. So we sized it, and then we're going to press Make It. And here's the thing. We are still going to mirror our material. So just go ahead and turn that mirror on. Press Continue. And then once you have connected to your USB, you are going to be able to now select your material. Now, when you're working with Caesar Brick 600, we recommend a medium cardstock. We have tested glitter cardstock. We have tested, is there any other ones we've tested?
I tested like regular HTV initially because I thought that's what you would use.
Right,
but
well this is really thick.
Yeah, it's very thick. Yeah. The glitter cardstock I didn't personally like because it cuts
multiple
it twice.
passes, and we can show you. Look at our sample. So we cut this one on glitter cardstock, and I just didn't love the little pieces here. You could see where it cut through twice, and it just didn't give us the best effect. So
and when you weed, you can try to remove them, but they just stick.
It's just not the same. So you want to go with medium cardstock for this. You could do more pressure. Should we do more pressure today? Have you used this blade lately?
Yeah, no, but that machine is amazing.
Okay.
Y'all know I love a Maker. The Maker's my favorite machine.
Love it.
If you do more pressure, for me, if I did more pressure on medium cardstock, it cuts through my transfer paper. Yeah. And that makes it hard for me to apply it to my shirt and pull it off of the mat after it's cut.
Yes, exactly. So we're going to use this right here, and then we're going to use the new weeding tools that if you get a Makeathon ticket, I'm mailing you for free. We're sending you weeding tools just for Makers Gonna Learn. So I'm just gonna use this to burnish it down.
So cute, and it's in the MGL colors.
Woohoo! Yes,
y'all, Lauren got us shirts.
Oh my gosh!
Lauren had all the staff these shirts made by a local girl who does sewing, and she put different quilt star patterns on the back of our shirts with the MGL colors, and then she embroidered our name on the front of them.
Lauren showed me like weeks ago, and I was like, Lauren. I was like, why are you trying to outdo yourself? Like,
you know how Lauren is. You know how she is. They're amazing. They're so
special.
Cute.
So medium cardstock, or default pressure, because more pressure would cut through this transfer. And now we're just going to cut it. Y'all, this is very similar to using your Cricut on a daily basis. While that's cutting, I'm going to preheat for 315 at 20 seconds. Now again, this is a cold peel. So what we'll probably end up doing, and what we've done in the past, is we're going to take it, hit it for 20 seconds, let it cool, check on it. for some reason, if we try to do it in sprints of 30 seconds, it's like overkill. So we're gonna probably end up doing 2 hits at 20 seconds and let it cool in between.
So I think that if you heat this Caesar brick up too much, they call it overworking the vinyl.
Okay.
And so where it's 3D, I think it kind of like, I don't want to say smooshes it, but like it doesn't give that same 3-dimensional effect. So you don't want to apply too much heat for too long of a period, or you're going to overwork your vinyl. So that's why we're doing it in such small increments.
And once you understand the thickness of this material and whatnot, you'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But like hearing it like overworking might sound a little strange right now. But once you feel it, you'll kind of understand.
Yes.
So it is super, super fun. So Janet, we are trying to ship those out as quickly as possible. So I would give probably 10 business days before they ship. So you probably should get it within 2.5, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I'd probably say. So that'll be awesome. We're getting all of the finalization of Make-a-thon done, and it's going to be so good. I'm so excited. I needed this. Thank you. I needed this.
You're welcome.
So you could just keep this, and then we're going to use this to kind of cut off the excess. I will say our X-Acto knife is sharp.
It is good, y'all. That
sharp.
X-Acto knife's amazing.
It's like really, really sharp.
I mean, look at that one swipe.
That was one swap. And I was like trying to be gentle with it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're just going to use the lot and then just cut this out.
And I actually really personally love weeding this material.
Oh,
it's very interesting because the transfer is not sticky like normal HTV.
Yes.
It's very interesting and it feels good. I don't know.
Am I overhead properly perfect? Thanks, Sadie. So we're just gonna go like a typical weeding and go from the outside. I do want to mention something about our weeding tool. So this weeding tool is not the sharpest weeding tool you'll ever use. And I purposely did that. So why we did this is like for every material. Sometimes if a weeding tool is too sharp, you'll notice that it just doesn't work as well. So we don't want it to overly be sharp every time. So you can still have your sharp ones. I use other ones too, but it's nice to have multiple options. Now what's happened here is, believe it or not, our material has cut through the transfer tape, which is not fun. So we're just gonna see.
It did cut through the transfer?
Yeah, crazy.
And listen, y'all, so I've played around with different settings. The glitter cardstock setting cuts all the way through for me almost every time. But your machine may apply a little bit more or less pressure just because all the machines kind of vary a little bit.
Well, it depends on your blade. It depends on your machine.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of variables that you have to look out for. So
yeah.
I'm just weeding this away and we're just gonna make it work. We're just gonna have a good time.
Yeah, because you can still do it. It's just not as easy to pull off of the thing.
Sure.
And do you get a smell? Can you smell it?
Oh, I can smell it.
It smells like fresh paint.
Yeah.
It's an interesting smell. I like it though.
Okay, so it definitely cut through. I mean, this feels like, it's really neat, really neat.
Interesting, yeah.
Yes. So then we're gonna come in here and just slowly, since it has cut all the way through, we just wanna be very careful about weeding it. I'm gonna try to leave the transfer tape down.
Yeah.
I do not wanna bring the transfer tape up with me. And I'm just slotting my tool around to pull it up. I'm not gonna try to peel it up. I'll try to just like slowly, see when I start peeling it up, the transfer tape wants to come. But if I take the tool and go around and like make sure to be gentle and leave my pieces down, it's gonna help a lot.
Yeah, sometimes even just going in at a different angle can help a lot.
Yep.
It is, Marina, it does feel very rubbery.
Yes.
It's soft and like very soft, almost
it's
velvety.
Enjoyable, yes.
Yeah, it's a nice texture. And like, I haven't worn a shirt with it on it. I've made shirts with it on it, but I feel like it would wear fine. Like it's not going to be super stiff or anything like that. It's very bendy.
Yes, which is nice. Super nice. So as you can see, I would recommend taking a little bit more time, especially your first project. You know, this design is kind of, aggressive. It's a detailed one, but we want to show you what's possible, right? Like if you see us do it, you know that you could do it too, which is really important for us here. So we like to show you that you are able to, be resilient and push through. So that's why we you know, kind of like to push the limit.
I got another new material, Tanner.
What?
Speaking of trying new things and like not knowing what you're doing.
There's so many material out there.
I know. So, if y'all don't already know who Amy Makes That is, she's like one of my favorites. Amy. I don't know if it's because we're both redheads. I just love her style and like I love her personality. But she did a video of like a blanket using velvet HTV, and we just ordered some and got it in the mail. So I don't know if y'all have heard that there's velvet HTV out there. But
have you used it yet?
Nope. I was working on it today actually. So
well, you're going to have to show me when you have something.
I'm very excited. And it's so crazy because the back is like vinyl and the front is velvet, and you can literally iron it onto like garments and blankets and stuff like that. Yeah, so
I've weeded it. This is when I like to take a look at my project. I like to make sure that everything is weeded because our eyes like plays tricks on us and tries to tell us like stop. So I'm just gonna do a review. And I found one. I found a piece that I needed to weed. Look at that. I told you. I
have not applied this hot pink to a pure white t-shirt, but I'm very curious.
I feel like it would pop a lot. Like my eyes would be really like.
Well, and also, Tanner, you can see the pink on that transfer, and I'm wondering if it would accidentally transfer onto the...
No.
You don't think it would?
No, I don't. I personally don't think so.
I would hope not.
Look at this transfer tape. It is pink. Alicia is just that good,
right?
Oh,
thanks, LaShonda.
Oh my gosh. Now here's where, Lord, please let us transfer this.
Say it for a moment of silence, everybody, for this vinyl. Is it kind of coming off together?
We'll be fine.
So like now, if this were you and this happened to you, what I would do is go back in and if I wanted to recut it, and I would just do less pressure.
Oh, if you wanted to make a whole new one?
If we wanted to, yeah.
Yes,
so like if you needed to adjust, and that way you learn what your cut setting would be for Caesar brick every time.
Yes, that would be a possibility. But honestly, it's this thick that you can, again, this isn't ideal, but you can, well, you can't really because it has these individual pieces that aren't all connected.
Right.
I would probably recommend when you're on Makers Learn's website to pick shirts, pick designs that can be all in one image.
Right. Like so not with cheetah print spots.
Yeah. But also my favorite hack, and if you guys have never tried it, this could be a great testimony, going with gravity. Go with gravity, people, because this will just help it naturally fall off, and you can use your tools just to make sure it effortlessly comes up. Everything like that, my friends. Everything like that. And you're just gonna rock it.
It's looking, I mean, it's coming off pretty good. It could be better.
I'm very impressed.
Yeah, you're doing.
I'm very thankful. The Lord is faithful. The Caesar brick.
I'm curious how many of you all have been using the Juliet for your cuts, because LaShonda mentioned it.
Let us know.
Yeah.
I bet this cut's perfect with the Juliet.
I'm sure the Juliet cuts like butter.
Okay, so we're just going to position this here. I want to make sure, since the transfer tape has been cut, you have to be careful that the transfer tape is not going to get under your adhesive. So I'm actually going to remove this piece of adhesive here, or this piece of transfer tape, because I'm worried that it's not going to go through properly. So I'm just making sure that it is doing the best it can. And we have it right here. This is amazing. Oh my goodness. So remember guys, we are going to do 20 seconds pressed. Then we're going to go ahead and peel it up and make sure it's a cold peel. And then we are going to possibly heat it again. Potentially.
A lot of people have good results doing it at 320 at 15 seconds. Every time that I do it, and I've used the heat press, I've used the easy press, and I always have to repress it. So I honestly think I did a filmed video for you all using HTV in this, and I did it at 350, and I had slightly better results. So you know, it's gonna just vary.
Oh my gosh, it's still hot.
Is it? Put it on the granite countertop. That will always cool it down for me. Or a cold window is great for this.
Alicia's so impatient.
I'm like, okay, cool. I'm excited.
Look at this. The cold peel is amazing.
Yes, that you got to do the cold peel. And then if it accidentally, those little spots still have some of the transfer sometimes. Like if it cuts all the way through, you can just weed them off.
You can just weed them off. So it's beautiful. Look at this, y'all. Look at this. Okay, so look at this, my friends. Look at this. So we're just gonna weed out these other smaller pieces. It's gonna be really easy. So yay.
Yay. Oh, that is gorgeous, gorgeous.
Holy cow. Stop this. I mean, this is really easy. Even if, I just want to encourage you all, even if your Cricut does what it did to us, it's really not caused, I would not consider this a craft fail. So I don't want you all to think this is a craft fail whatsoever.
No.
You can rock it. And instead of having all of the mess, if you don't like using your tool for this, you can actually, with your different pieces, I'll give you an example. So you can like weed this up, and then, you know, with your weeding tool, you can put it in here as like a little trash can.
I love
people do that too.
Double duty.
Yes. So that's super fun. And then look, we're just gonna weed these last few pieces. Well, y'all, here it is.
Look at her.
How about it? How about it?
I wonder if they can tell if it's 3D, like overhead.
I don't know. Let's try. Let's go overhead.
It is very, it's just a good texture.
Beautiful. I mean, this is good. And like when you stretch it, it stretches. It's not like for stretch shirts, but like for cotton shirts, when you stretch it, you could tell it can hang out.
Yes.
And then do we know any care instructions for this? Of course, inside out. I'm sure cold.
Machine wash cold, hang to dry.
Yes,
I always hang to dry HTV because the dryer
will
melt it off. So
right, I would never want to. You know, if you want your heat transfer vinyl to last, you've got to do it. Now I have.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Maker's Gonna Learn YouTube channel. My name is Alicia, and today I'm gonna be talking about something that everybody has been so vocal about and so excited to see here on the channel, and that is puff vinyl. So this isn't like your normal heat transfer vinyl. This is the 3D puff vinyl that looks so cool whenever you apply heat to it and then pull that carrier sheet off. It gives that really neat three-dimensional effect, and I'm gonna show you all the different brands that we tried and the different heat settings as well as cut settings that worked for us. So you can see here, we use the Caesar brand 3D Puff HTV on this sweatshirt. This is in a fluorescent yellow, which we really love. It's super loud and super fun. And also it's 3D, so that just makes it that much better. And then I wanna see if you all can get a good look at this three-dimensional effect. And so normally with regular HTV, it's gonna be very flat, but with the 3D puff, you get this raised effect, and it just adds another special element to all of your craft projects. And so whenever we started looking into puff vinyl, we thought there's got to be different brands and different types that we need to try out. That way we can decide which ones we like better. And so come to find out, there are lots of different brands, but we chose our top 3 that we typically use for regular HTV and adhesive vinyl. And those are the Tech Wrap Craft, the Caesar brand, and the StarCraft brand. And so I'm gonna show you all exactly what we found out, what we discovered, and I'm also gonna be cutting out some of these for you all and then pressing them, and that way you can see the differences in that way as well. Okay, so I've got the 3 different brands here. I've got my Tech Wrap Craft brand. We got this in white. I have some Caesar brand puff vinyl, and then I also got the StarCraft brand. And so these all feel different. The carrier sheets are even different, cut settings and heat settings, all different, but we're gonna go through each and every one of those so you all can kind of decide on your own which one is gonna work best for you before you go into purchasing. Another thing you're gonna need is a strong grip mat. This is a well-loved strong grip mat, but it's still pretty sticky. If you don't have a strong grip mat, but you do have your puff vinyl already, do not fret. You can always use a standard grip mat and then just use masking tape to make sure that it's stuck down really well. You just do not want your vinyl moving around when we go to cut it, so make sure that you have it securely set onto your mat. And then I've just got like a plethora of different weeding tools. I have a true control knife, some scissors. This is a pin weeding tool for fine cuts, and then just a standard weeding tool. So other than your Cricut, the last element that you're gonna need is a heat source. So we have been using the clamshell heat press for all of our puff vinyl needs. You can use a bigger Cricut Easy Press if you wanted to, and if that's all you had on hand. I would recommend testing out small sections of puff vinyl onto like a scrap piece of cloth or something like that before you go and do a huge design on a really nice t-shirt, because you do need to apply a very specific amount of pressure. And so that's why we really like to use this big heat press, because we can adjust the settings as needed and we can apply more pressure if we need to as well. I do not recommend using a Cricut Mini Easy Press or using an iron that may put out steam or anything like that. A heat press or even the bigger Cricut Easy Presses are gonna be your best bet. Let's go ahead and get into Design Space. And I've already laid out these simple designs today. We're not gonna spend a whole lot of time in Design Space, but I do wanna go over the cut settings for each of these vinyls because they do vary from brand to brand. So let's go ahead and get into that. Okay, so I have pulled in the design elements for the 3 different shirts that we're gonna be making today, and then we will just work our way up from there. So I'm gonna start with the Tech Wrap Puff HTV. So you can just hide any of this stuff in the layers panel that we do not need. We'll go ahead and hide that. Okay, and then we will just go to make it. Now, when you get to this page, you're gonna need to mirror your image when you're using the Tech Wrap vinyl. So I'm just going to select mirror right here, and you can see that it's flipped my image to the opposite direction. Select continue. And then depending on the machine that you're using, you will use different cut settings. And this is per the Tech Wrap reference guide that they send me whenever they sent the actual Tech Wrap Puff vinyl. And I'll show you guys that right now. So this is the label that came on our puff vinyl sheet. You can see it's actually torn up a little bit, but that's totally fine because I can still read all of the information on the back. So here it has your HTV type, the machine you're using, as well as heat settings. And then it tells us how much pressure we need to apply depending on the HTV type that we're using. And so what we're doing today is we're using the Explore series, and it's telling us that we need to use the Everyday Iron-On cut setting at a pressure of 160. If you're using a maker, you're gonna use the Premium Vinyl Holographic setting with a pressure of 185. I plan to put a reference guide together for you all. That way, if you do get really into puff vinyl making, you're gonna have something to refer back to whenever you go to actually make it. So back in Design Space, we're gonna be going to the Everyday Iron-On cut setting in order to cut this vinyl. But according to our reference sheet, we need to be cutting it with a pressure of 160. Now, how do we know if our Everyday Iron-On is cutting at a pressure of 160? Well, I'm gonna show you. We're gonna go to Browse All Materials and then to Material Settings on the bottom left. What you can do is scroll down here, and this is in alphabetical order, and you can find Everyday Iron-On right here. Now, the pressure setting is at 113, so that's not nearly as much as we need. So what I suggest that you do is keep on scrolling all the way to the bottom of these material settings, and we're gonna make our own. So I'm gonna add new material, and let's name this Tech Wrap Puff Vinyl, okay? And so this setting is gonna be in here forever, so you can refer back to it whenever you're cutting your Tech Wrap Puff Vinyl. And you select Save, and then you can select manually how much pressure that you need. And so we need it to be at 160 or around that. And then you can see there's also options to do more passes, which we don't need. And you can also change the blade, which we're keeping it on a fine point blade, so that's not gonna affect us at all either. And then select Save. After that, you can select Done. And then, so you can't see it right here in our favorites, but we can go back to Browse All Materials and type in Tech. And you can see our cut setting is right here. So this is gonna be super handy for you if you continuously use this type of puff vinyl. So select Done. And then all we're gonna need to do is apply our HTV to our Strong Grip mat. So I've got my Tech Wrap vinyl here, and you can see there's an obvious shiny side and an obvious matte side. Now with Tech Wrap, we're applying it as the same as we would any other heat transfer vinyl, and that is shiny side down. So our carrier sheet is the shiny side. So with puff vinyl, you're always gonna put the carrier sheet face down. And so we're gonna turn this over so that the carrier sheet is facing the sticky side of our mat. Just line it up as good as you can. And then you want to burnish this down and make sure it does not move. Now, if you're using a standard grit mat or a little bit less sticky of a strong grit mat, you're going to want to add some painter's tape or masking tape around the edges to make sure that it's not moving when it goes to cut. And then you should be good to go ahead and send this through the cutter. And so this is the finished product. So you're just weeding everything around your design, and then you're left with the design here. And you can see the carrier sheet is still holding our design in place. Now with the Tech Wrap, the carrier sheet is sticky. And typically with HTV, you will find that the carrier sheet is sticky. Now the StarCraft carrier sheet, not sticky. So you'll see differences with puff vinyl, and it's just gonna be differences between the brands and what they chose to do. Okay, for this one, we are gonna be cutting the light bulb out of the StarCraft HTV 3D Puff. This one is a little bit trickier, and I'll show you why. So we can go ahead and go to the Make It screen. I'm gonna hide anything we don't need. But before we go to cut it, I wanna show you something that's a little bit different about the StarCraft HTV. So I've peeled up a corner here so that you all can really get a good visual, because with the StarCraft Puff HTV, you're gonna get a matte side and another semi-matte side. And so normally you're gonna hear us saying, put the shiny side down, put the shiny side towards the matte. Well, this case is gonna be a little bit different. So the carrier sheet is this more matte side, and I know that because I've slightly separated the vinyl from the carrier sheet, and that's a good way to tell which side is the carrier sheet and which side isn't, especially when you're working with puff vinyl. And so I know that the carrier sheet needs to be sticking towards the sticky side of my mat, which means this more matte side is gonna go down towards my mat whenever I go to cut it. And so you would just line it up like this, and let me grab a piece of scrap that I've already cut. And so you can see the more matte side is gonna go face down, okay? And I'm just gonna line this up in the corner just like we normally would. And then back in Design Space, I'm going to be mirroring my image here again, because we've flipped the carrier sheet down. So our image is being cut in reverse, just like we normally would with HTV. And then we will select Continue. On the 143 Vinyl website, it advises us to cut StarCraft Puff HTV under the Everyday Iron-On cut settings. It does not specify pressure. It doesn't specify anything else other than Everyday Iron-On. So I'm just gonna cut it on the normal Everyday Iron-On cut setting, keep it at default pressure, and we're gonna go ahead and send this to the machine. Okay, so already with this one, it feels so much different after I've weeded out my design. So this is the matte carrier sheet. This is not sticky, you all. So on the other one, on this one, we had a sticky, clear carrier sheet. This one is not sticky, and it's a little bit more frosted. And so you can tell a big difference here. I personally like the sticky one because I can put this on my shirt and I know it's not gonna move around. That's just personal preference. Okay, we are to the first one that we ever tried, and probably the most tricky one. But I just want you all to simply follow the instructions and you will be good to go. So this is the Caesar Easy Puff HTV, and we're gonna be cutting this MGO logo out of some brown puff HTV. Now let's go to the Make It screen, and we are going to select the cut settings we're gonna be using for this vinyl. Now, you need to mirror your image just like we've done for the other two. Go ahead and mirror that. Select Continue. And we are also going to be using the Everyday Iron-On. Now, so according to Caesar, you are to cut this on the Everyday Iron-On cut setting. So I'm going to just select that here. We're going to keep it at default pressure. And now let me go overhead and show you all exactly how to lay out this vinyl. So you've heard me preach shiny side down over and over and over again. If you've been on the channel for any extended amount of time, you've heard me say that. But with puff vinyl, I want you to think carrier sheet side down. Now with the Caesar Puff HTV, the carrier sheet is actually the matte side. So I'm going to show you all by peeling up a corner of this. Sometimes if I cut a little corner off, it's easy for me to grab. Okay, so I want you all to see here that the Caesar Puff carrier sheet is the matte side in this case, okay? So that means that this matte side needs to touch my sticky side of my mat because this is the carrier sheet. So the carrier sheet's always gonna go down when you're using puff vinyl. And so I'm cutting a pretty large image here. So I'm gonna use this entire sheet. I'm just going to line it up to that top edge. And then we can go ahead and feed this into the Cricut. Now before I remove my puff vinyl, I always like to make sure that it cut all the way through. So you can take a weeding tool and just kind of make sure a portion of it is cut all the way through, and it has. So I'm just gonna go ahead and unload this and then weed it. Okay, so our design is weeded. This carrier sheet is very matte, similar to the StarCraft, but it's also sticky like the Tech Wrap. So we kind of get the best of both worlds there, I guess. It's just funny how they're all so different, but it's basically the same exact type of vinyl. So anyways, this is our design, and the next thing we want to talk about is heat settings. Okay, so I have paired up all of our designs with the different t-shirts or sweatshirts that they're gonna be going on. I want to talk about what heat settings and what length of time you're gonna need for each one of these puff vinyls. And so we're just gonna go back in order. So we started with our Tech Wrap, so I'm gonna start there for the heat settings. This is gonna need to be pressed at 275 for around 8 to 10 seconds. And so I've got my heat press already preheated. And so all we're gonna need to do is lay out our design exactly where we want it on our shirt. So this is just a pocket tee, so I'll just line it up on the chest of this shirt. And it is sticky, so it's not gonna move a lot once you get it down. You can pull it up and move it if you need to. And then what we're gonna do is put this into our heat press. Now, a lot of people ask, do we need different types of butcher's paper or like a Teflon sheet or something like that? I have not used one yet, and everything has worked out perfectly fine. We have the carrier sheet as a barrier, so we are gonna be good to go. So I'm gonna press this with firm pressure for 10 seconds. Okay, now online it told us to do a cool peel, but this peels off very easily and it does not affect it at all. I've tried cool peel, warm peel. If you want to follow the instructions, you can wait and do a cool peel, but the warm peel worked out perfectly fine for us, and I'm going to show you all close up what this looks like. So this is the Tech Wrap Puff HTV. It looks so good, and I love the texture that this puff vinyl gives. Just worked out really nicely for us. So this is the StarCraft. We're gonna be cutting this with the more matte side. And I'm just gonna be doing another chest logo right here. Now this is not sticky, so it will try to move. You can apply some heat resistant tape around the edges of this, which I'm gonna do really quick. And this is gonna prevent it from moving around whenever it goes into the press. So these are things that you're gonna need to think about whenever you're purchasing different puff vinyls. Like, do I wanna have to tape my design down every time that I go to press it? Would I rather it just be on a sticky carrier sheet? That's just something you're gonna have to consider. Okay, another thing about the StarCraft heat settings are that we're gonna be pressing it 2 times. So the first one, we're gonna be doing it at 285 for 8 to 10 seconds. I'm gonna do it for 10. We're gonna remove the carrier sheet and press it again, just bare bones for 4 to 6 seconds. It sounds crazy, but it works, trust me. So let's go ahead and plop this in here. We're gonna do 10 seconds for the first one. Okay, we're gonna remove the carrier sheet. Before removing the carrier sheet, you're gonna need to let this cool down completely. And so delicately remove this. And honestly, y'all, it looks really nice right now. It's very smooth. It feels different than normal HTV, but it does not quite feel like puff HTV at this point. Let me give you a close-up. This is before the second press. So it's very smooth. It's not textured like the tech wrap was. Very smooth. It actually looks pretty nice. But if you want that 3D puff effect, we're gonna need to press it a second time. So this part scared me the first time I did it. I thought, no, thank you. I'm not gonna do that. But I did a little tester corner and it worked out perfectly fine. So we're just going in, bare bones. I've got my t-shirt and it's gonna be sandwiched in between the plates at firm pressure for 6 seconds. And this does not leave any residue on your plates or anything that I've noticed, but it looks very, very nice. So this is the 3D Puff StarCraft final product. So there are some pretty obvious differences when I first look at it. The StarCraft has a much different texture, and it's also kind of like it's bled the design together. So there's not as much gap in between like the cut lines where the scissors touch. I'm gonna personally say I like the tech wrap results better than the StarCraft, but like I've been saying, it's all gonna be personal preference. And the more you work with certain types of vinyl, the better you're gonna get at it as well. But they both look pretty dang good. Okay, and last but not least is our Caesar. This is our favorite brand of HTV. And so this was the very first brand that we used when we were making the puff vinyl. And I really like this because it has the sticky transfer carrier sheet and it just looks really nice. So for this sweater, so I'm gonna use one of the Maker's Gonna Learn t-shirt guides for this one. And when I get full designs like this, I like to crease them about halfway and then line it up with the middle of my t-shirt guide. If you don't have a t-shirt guide, you can do 3 finger widths from the collar to wherever your design's gonna be. That's how much space you need in between it. Then we can remove the t-shirt guide. And so the heat settings for the Caesar are gonna be actually at 280 for a little bit more time. So I'm gonna go over to my heat press and we're gonna bump this up to 280. And then as soon as that gets a little bit hotter, we will press our design in the heat press. If you look on the 143 Vinyl website, which is where I purchased this Caesar brand vinyl, it's gonna recommend that you press it for 8 to 10 seconds. I found that the 15-second works a little bit better. And so I've been doing it for 15 seconds. But if you wanna try it yourself, 8 to 10 seconds at 280 is the recommended time and heat settings. So I'm just gonna place this in here and we're gonna press this for 15 seconds. And this is a hot peel, so as soon as I lift it up, I'm gonna pull that carrier sheet off. You can see it kind of pops off whenever you lift the clamshell up. But y'all, this looks so good. And I just wanna shout out to Amy Makes That because she did a brown on brown puff vinyl. And it was like the most gorgeous thing ever. And I was like, we have to make a brown on brown because the brown on brown looks so pretty. Let's go overhead so you can see really good how this looks. So this is the final product. How cute. I love this. And I really love how the puff vinyl feels. The tech wrap and the Caesar are my top contenders just because I feel like they look really good. The StarCraft does not look terrible. It really doesn't, but I don't like the fact that I have to press it twice in order to get the achieved look. That's just me. But overall, I am hooked onto puff vinyl. I just think Looks so cool, super trendy right now, and also a really great seller if you are a craft seller. Puff vinyl is super hot right now. It's all over Etsy, Instagram, all of the above. So if you're interested, make sure to grab it in the links below. We will have all of the stuff that we used today linked for you all so that you can use it if you need to. So for typical wash settings for these, we get lots of questions whenever we make things on textiles, like shirts especially. Always, always wash your stuff inside out. If you've got puff vinyl or HTV or anything like that, these are gonna be washed inside out on cold, gentle cycle, and you're gonna tumble dry them on low. I don't typically like to tumble dry mine on low. I like to hang dry anything that I have applied vinyl to. Personal preference. I just don't want any heat getting on to the vinyl, but the instructions say that you can tumble dry these low in your dryer, so you should be good to go if that's the way that you choose to do it. If you all like today's video, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you never miss when we post new crafty videos for you all, and hit the little bell so you're notified every time that we post. We cannot wait to see you all in the next one, and thank you for hanging out with us today. Bye.
Well, Alicia, what are you doing today?
We are making, we're working with Velvet HTV.
What is that?
Velvet heat transfer vinyl.
Right.
Y'all, when I first saw this, I saw a couple different people using it on the interwebs. Yeah. And I was like, excuse me, what? Like, I have to try it. I have to get my hands on it. And so we did. We got our hands on some. The brand is Craftables. But basically, I'm going to be showing y'all how to do like the different cut settings, the different heat settings, because it is different from regular HTV. But it feels so good. Like, you know, sometimes if you do HTV on something, depending on the brand, it can feel like you made it. Yeah. I feel like this Velvet HTV, it looks store-bought. And that's what I love so much about it. Yeah. Wow. So it's pretty amazing. And I'm looking over there and realizing I didn't even bring this sample in that I made, which I probably should. But, you know, we're gonna have a final product today. Yeah, so I'm gonna be showing you all from start to finish how to do it. Yeah, you are. It's gonna be incredible. Very exciting stuff. Yes. Some people didn't even know that there was such a thing as Velvet HTV. Welcome to the party. Yeah. Welcome to the club, because I didn't either. And whenever I saw it, I was like, there's no way that's heat transfer vinyl. Yeah. And it's not vinyl, but it's, I guess they're calling it vinyl because the back of it. How hard was it to get the settings? It's you know. So you got a little hacky hack? Yeah, you got to do a little finagling. Okay. But it's nothing crazy. Nothing we can't do. Yeah, yeah. Awesome. So y'all know we like to kind of move our cut settings around and stuff like that. Yes, so that's what we're gonna do today. Yes. Now I'm gonna make sure. So anyways, I have a few different things here. You don't need a lot of extra supplies for this project. But I did order this blanket, and I tried to find something that was like, I don't know, decorative. I would use this more as a decorative blanket, but honestly, this velvet is so nice that you cannot even tell, like you could use it on an everyday blanket if you wanted to, but I just think it's so pretty. I just want to display it. You know what I'm saying? Right. So you're going to need a blanket, and I want to say, let's see, this blanket is 70% polyester. But I don't think it matters because you can apply this if you can apply heat transfer vinyl to it, you can apply this to it. So this one's really super soft. If you're not a polyester person, don't purchase the blanket that's in the links for you. It does have that polyester feel, which I personally like, but I know a lot of people do not like how polyester feels. Gotcha. You could totally do like cotton or something like that. So this is the Velvet HTV you're gonna need, and so it's very interesting. Can you all see? It's thick. It has a carrier sheet built in, like heat transfer vinyl would, and then it's still kind of got this like sheen, like shiny on the back. Y'all, this is like real velvet. I mean, or like I guess they call it crushed velvet, but it feels like real velvet. It's so nice. And so I picked this color, but there's other color options. And then I have a Teflon sheet here. I've got a Cricut. This is a very large Cricut heat press mat because we are going to be using our Big Mama Cricut heat press. I never use this heat press because y'all know I'm a mini press, ride or die girl, but I really like this size for this project because it covers the entire design that we're doing today. So I really like that it covers everything and that I don't have to manually go in with like a mini press and do it. So the bigger press that you have, the better I think it's gonna work, depending on your design. Now, if you do a smaller design, it won't matter as much, but I think this is gonna be your best bets. And then I have a brayer. I've got some masking tape, that's optional in case your mat is not super sticky. Scissors, I have a measuring tape, and then I've got a strong grip mat. Now you could use like a newer standard grip mat if that's all you have on hand, but you want to make sure that you've got something that's really going to hold on to the vinyl because this is thick. And so whenever I'm using thicker materials, I try to use a strong grip or a new standard grip mat. So, and then you're gonna need a couple different fonts. We're using the split monogram font and the fellowship font, and I will show you all. I downloaded them already, but where's my mouse? Oh, here it is. I downloaded them already, but I can show you all where to find them on the website.
Love it.
So let's go ahead and get logged in there.
Links down
below. This is one of the fonts that we're gonna be using today. And this is one of our newer fonts. So every month we release new fonts, which is amazing. If you're a member, you get access to all of those fonts and you get commercial use of them as well, which is really nice. And so if you wanted to sell velvet blankets with these beautiful monograms on them, you could totally do it. And so you're just gonna download that. It'll pop into a zip folder, and then you can double click on the font and install the font. So we've already got it technically. And then I'm just gonna go back, and you can always search for your, like the font style that you want over here. Like if you wanted to do a fancy font. We even have a monogram category, which is really nice because that's what we're needing. So you can just select monogram and all of these fonts are gonna pop up. And you can see we've got 2 pages full of monogram fonts, which is amazing for all of our monogram peeps. And so we're gonna be using this split monogram. And again, you're just gonna click the little download button, double click your zip folder, double click the item in the folder, and then you're going to install your font. Okay, and then we're gonna go back to Design Space, and we're just gonna reload Design Space. Go View and Reload. And then our fonts will be in Design Space.
Now, can you use this on any fabric?
The Velvet HTV,
yeah.
I would say probably yes.
Okay.
I would say probably yes.
Now, from your research, have you noticed any other brands that offer velvet heat transfer vinyl? We're having some friends ask.
If you can find some, let me know. I could not find any that looked even close to the quality, I guess.
Yeah.
And I did this project quite a while ago, so maybe the word got around and maybe I missed it. But this is like really good quality. I'm gonna recommend this brand. I just think that it's good. I know it works. It's foolproof. So yeah. Okay. Before we get started, I went ahead and downloaded the fonts, and I'm gonna go ahead and start designing what we want. So before we go in and design it though, I wanna make sure that I'm gonna like basically put a little template, and y'all know we like to kind of have like some kind of guide for how big everything needs to be. And so with the blanket, we're not doing the whole blanket, obviously, right? But you do want to kind of decide where you want to put your design. And so I'm thinking, if I have this blanket, and we may have to go to camera 1 so y'all can see what I'm doing here. If you wanted this blanket to like hang over like the ledge of a couch, for example, you want to think about how it's folded and where you want your monogram to be. So if my arm was the leg of a couch or like the arm of the couch, and I want it to show right here, this is the space that I want to work in when I'm in Design Space. So I need to measure how big this is and make sure my design fits within the parameters. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, if you wanted to fold it differently, fold it how you think it's going to be displayed, and then measure the area that it's going to be showing up in. So hopefully that makes sense. So let's measure this. Where's my little thingy? Okay, so I'm not going to include the fringes. I'm just going to include all of this part. And so let's see here. We've got about, I'm not going to go all the way to the end because I don't need it to be, I don't want it to fill up this whole area.
You want it to look like it was like natural.
Right. So I'm thinking like 9 by 10. Now, this vinyl is not 12 by 12. I'll say that.
12 by 10 is what I read on the
website.
listing,
Yeah. So these are 12 by 10. So you technically could not even get bigger than that. Now, if you were feeling risky and you wanted to butt two pieces, I'm not even going to get into that. But I was going to say, if you wanted to make it really big, you could butt two pieces of it up together, but we're not going to do that today. So you want to make sure that your design parameters are within the 12 by 10, which ours are. We're going to do 9 by 10. So let's go back into Design Space. And I am going to just click a shape. And we're just going to pull in a basic shape. So this is my favorite way to kind of lay out my designs and make sure that it fits proportionally. You can unlock your shape. And then our width is going to be 9 and our height is going to be 10. Okay. And then I'm going to change the color of this to the color of our blanket.
Love it.
So this is our design. This is my little guide. And what we need to do next is pull in our first design element. So that's going to be your monogram, because the monogram is the biggest element. It's going to take up most of the space. So select a text box right here, and we're going to do an R. I'm going to do Renner, which is my daughter's babysitter's new married name. So I'm just going to select that, and then I'm going to come up to my fonts. And if you're ever looking for a font and it's on Cricut, if I try to search in monogram right here, it's going to give me whatever Cricut is offering.
Yeah.
I don't want that. So make sure you select system fonts, and it's going to pull up all of your downloaded monogram fonts. Does that make sense? The blanket color is beautiful, Tina. So, okay, we're just going to, oh, I need to search it. Let's see, monogram. Okay, and then you can see all of these different ones that we've used in the past, and we're going to be using the split monogram, and holy moly, that's big. Let's zoom out. Okay, and then we're just going to shrink it down so that it fits within our parameters. Let me zoom back in so y'all can see what I'm doing. Okay, and you can stretch it to fill that area. That way you know how big it's going to be. Okay, beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Now, the next thing that we need to do is add in our text that's going to go through the middle. So I'm going to do Renner, and it's still in my monogram font. So I'm going to hit Command A. That's going to select everything in our text box. And then we can type in our other font name, which is Fellowship. Okay, I love this font. I think it's so cute. Now, I will recommend that you do all caps here. I just think it looks better. It kind of fills in the space, because you can see now, like, if it was small, there's going to be big gaps. And so what I like to do is use all caps. You could also use a like a script, but I would make sure that you didn't do anything too dainty, because it's not going to cut well. So you want to make sure that you're not doing anything super detailed when you're cutting this vinyl. I don't even like to call it vinyl. When you're cutting this velvet.
It really is just like adhesive back velvet, right?
It literally is.
Like, people's like, wait, it looks just like velvet.
No, it's velvet.
It's velvet.
With a heat activated backer.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
It literally is velvet. So, but you don't want to do anything super intricate, just because you don't want to mess up your design. So we have lots of like beautiful floral monograms on our website that you're going to probably come across when you're looking at monograms. I don't really recommend those unless you're planning to make a bigger design. And this velvet does come in a roll. So if you wanted to do like a really long, like full last name and did like maybe some florals on that or something, you could, but I just wouldn't recommend. If you're going to do something this small on this scale, I would not do anything super intricate unless you kind of played with the cut settings and stuff like that on your own. And feel free to do that if you're feeling, brave. And then the last thing I want to do, and this is a design preference just for me, I like to add a little bit of space in between my letters. So I'm just going to add like a 0.5 of space, maybe even like a 0.8. Yes. Do you see how that makes, like, elevates it a little bit? Is it just me?
No,
I always feel like space in between my letters elevates my design. maybe I'm just crazy.
It just makes it stand out more.
It does. It kind of cleans it up a little bit.
You can read it better.
Right.
Increases readability. Now, I love that you were kind of just, for anyone here that is newer to using our monogram fonts, this is a really simple way to see how you can customize it. Like, it's really easy to work with our monograms.
Yes.
If you want to look at other monograms, sometimes you'll download 2 or 3 fonts to use a monogram font, and you would see the left, middle, and right. So just know that. And we have training for it if you all need it.
Yes, and we've got so many good monogram fonts.
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is make sure everything is aligned. So I'm gonna go to my layers panel, I'm gonna select my R, hold the shift key down and select render. And then I'm going to align and center horizontally. Now, you can see right away that this is kind of not centered. It could just be the font. Sometimes if it's like a sans serif font, sometimes these little lines will throw off the alignment. So I'm just gonna bump it back into where I think that it looks more centered. So you don't always have to trust your align tool. Most of the time it's right, but if it looks off, adjust it.
Yeah.
And it did look a little bit off. So I'm pulling it in. And then I saw someone ask about the lines on the N. They should cut fine, but yes, like I don't want to be doing a font that has lots of thin, skinny lines, but I think if we have a few here and there, we should be fine. We'll cross our fingers, right?
Yeah.
So after you get it lined up exactly how you want it, I'm going to select both of these again in the layers panel, and we're just going to attach them. And so this is going to keep everything exactly where it is. If I were to group these together, it would not do that. It would put my render somewhere on my cutting mat and it would put my R somewhere on my cutting mat.
Right.
But since I've attached them, they're gonna stay where I want them to stay. And so that's it. That's all for the design process.
Way.
Yeah, so easy. I think that
So
took us like
easy.
10 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
And so what you just need to do now is hide your little square. We're gonna go to make it. And since we're using a heat transfer vinyl, we are going to be cutting this from the back. So that means that we're going to be putting the carrier sheet face down onto the sticky part of the mat. So we're cutting it from the back, which means that we need to mirror our image. So if you're ever cutting heat transfer vinyl and you're putting the carrier sheet down onto the mat, you need to mirror your image. And so we will select continue. And then I am going to be cutting this on denim bonded. Who has used that cut setting here before?
Ooh, not me.
Me neither before this.
Maybe I used it when I've actually cut denim.
Have you cut denim before?
Yeah, but are you using the rotary blade?
No.
What?
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm going to be using denim bonded, okay? And so I've seen this done a couple different ways, just whenever using thicker materials. Like a lot of times people will use settings like denim bonded with more pressure to really cut through it. But the denim bonded cut setting has a lot of pressure on its own. So I don't need to add more pressure. I will say that if you are cutting with an older machine, or it doesn't even necessarily need to be older. It could just be your machine needs a little bit more pressure, or may even need a little bit less pressure. You can always adjust your pressure right here in this drop down menu. Now I've tested it a couple times and I actually have it right here so you guys could see. I did test it using more pressure and you can see it almost cut through my carrier sheet. So I think a lot of you all will probably run into the issue of you're like, I want to make sure it cuts all the way through. So let me add more pressure. Be very careful and make sure you're doing a test cut first, because I don't want you all to, first of all, to waste the spinal. It's a little pricey. So get you a piece and use it as your test sheet, and make sure to get your cut settings right before you go willy-nilly cutting your design, because it is going to vary from machine to machine. It's going to be similar, but it's going to be a little bit different. And so I felt more happy to use my default cut setting. So I'm just going to use default pressure on the denim bonded cut setting. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Betty, we're using a velvet HTV that is linked below for you guys. So I've got default pressure here. All I need is a fine point blade. That blew my mind too, I promise. I was like, wait, what? We don't need a rotary blade for this, which is really nice because you don't have to buy, you know, the adaptive tools and all that. And so what I'm gonna do now is move all this stuff out of the way. Okay, so here's our velvet. The carrier sheet is on the top. That means that I'm going to flip it over. The carrier sheet goes on the bottom, okay? And we're gonna be cutting it from the back. I'm gonna line this up to the top left of my mats. And then you can take a burnishing tool or a brayer. I personally like a brayer when I'm using fabrics like velvet, or if I'm using like fabric with heat and bond on the back of it. A brayer really allows me to lay everything down smoothly, okay? And then we are just gonna run this through as the Cricut. Okay, good deal. Yes, Annette, it will need to be mirrored before you go to cut it. That is correct. I really love that we're only using the fine point blade for this, because I feel like a lot of times if we're doing any kind of like crazy new material, it always requires all of this like new product and stuff. But it's really nice because you can experiment with this and you don't really need anything new. Like if you've already got a heat source and you've already got your Cricut, like you're good to go. Honestly, you probably already got a blanket laying around somewhere, if I had to guess. I really think that this velvet would look good, and I have not tried it on satin, so if you guys try it on satin, this would be gorgeous on a bridal robe.
Yeah.
Like, or bridesmaid robes. I feel like that would be so, so pretty. And so, you all can see, let's go to the share screen. It's cutting one of 3 passes. So whenever you cut the denim bonded, it does cut more than 1 pass, and so that allows it to cut all the way through while only having to use that fine point blade.
I love that.
Yes. Love it. Okay, it's cutting right now. And so I don't know what pass it's on these, but on my smaller letters, it scares me every time. It did it to me the first time.
Dun, 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 dun,
it makes me so nervous. So I kind of babysit it because I don't want it to mess up my cut.
Yeah, for sure.
And whenever something is doing multiple cuts, especially if there's fine lines, you have to be very careful.
Yes.
But if anything messes up, we can always recut. Okay. While it's cutting, please don't mess up. Thank you. We're going to turn our Cricut press on. Okay. Let me turn it this way so it's not upside down. Okay. Can y'all see that?
Yep.
Okay. We're gonna push the power button. We're gonna be setting it on 310. So it technically needs to be between 300 and 315. 310 is like my happy medium, and it worked really well for me. So we're going to adjust this to 310. And then we're gonna be actually pressing it twice. So the first one you're gonna press for 10 seconds, and then we apply a Teflon sheet and we press it for 15 more seconds. It sounds crazy, but I'm just following the rules, everybody.
Love it.
Okay, so I'm gonna let that sit to the side.
You're gonna hit it how many times?
Twice.
Twice.
Yes.
That's not too bad. Alicia, are you sweating bullets over what is happening here with your velvet? Show us what's happening here on this beautiful live training.
Okay, so I can already, these ends, and you guys you warned me, my ends on the other one were fine, but these did not cut as well, and I have a resolution. Okay, so we'll fix it, don't worry. But it did not, it cut them, but like it cut them away. So like our ends basically don't exist anymore. Everything else turned out really good. So I'm actually gonna use the R still. But what I'm gonna do, let's go back into Design Space before I weed anything. Let's just go back into Design Space and troubleshoot this very quickly. So you could just change the font if you wanted to, but I'm thinking I'm gonna add a very small offset and thicken it up. Let's see what it looks like. Well, we're gonna have to play. So I'm gonna detach everything, and I'm just gonna select render over here in my layers panel, and let's go to offset. Now 0.25 is way too big. I'm thinking like 0.05, if that. Okay, not too shabby. Let's see here. Let's hide the original render.
Okay, are y'all seeing what Alicia's doing? She added an offset to then remove the regular font and to pretty much thicken up her font. She created her own font with being able to do this, and it automatically changes the color, which is so good, because then when she presses make it, she doesn't have to worry about removing anything. It's on its own color.
Right. And so we don't even work, because we're not going to be recutting that R.
Yeah.
And I didn't need to resize or anything. And so just adjust the offset until you get to a point where you feel like it's thick enough. And I feel like the ends here are thick enough now. And so I think that's going to work for me.
Love it.
And so really, I'm just going to hide this R. All we need to cut out is this. And I am going to just go to make it. And I'm wondering if I have, we won't risk it. Okay.
We're not risking it today.
We're not going to risk it. I'm going to go ahead and remove this vinyl. Now be careful, because this carrier sheet is attached, but like not, it comes off of the vinyl easily. Okay. And this is a thick, or a strong grit mat, you guys. It does not play. I saw a couple of people last week, they were like, I do the go with gravity method and I snapped my mat in half.
Oh my gosh,
I've always thought I couldn't do that, but this mat makes me feel like it could happen.
Full transparency, everyone watching, I do not support the mat that she's using.
It's very strong. I probably made a bad decision.
Yeah, I'm not that matte guy. Like, I've seen other ones and whatnot, but that
have you used this brand in standard grip before?
I'm sure I have. I'm just not a fan.
Yeah, it's just very sticky. Like, I don't even know what you would even really use.
Heather says there's not enough space on the bottom for it to recut. We're just recutting the name, and there is room at the bottom if we wanted to recut from that sheet. We could also use another sheet.
I'm probably just going to use another sheet because we don't want to mess it up again.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
You don't want to have to put it in and out. Chrissy knows me. Chrissy knows Nikapa is my mat.
Nikapa is my mat too. Nikapa is my fave.
Now, Alicia, you have bragged on these mats before.
The Karagi?
Yeah.
Oh, it was a long time ago.
It's a different day. I have a different opinion. Right?
I do like it if I really need a good strong grip mat though.
Now, are you a fan of those black mats?
I used to be, but Nikapa is my favorite.
Yeah, Nikapa's really cool.
Yeah.
We actually, me and Courtney had talked about, we had this like idea to do a whole line of physical products for you guys, and obviously we aren't doing that as of yet, but one of the ideas was to offer like a really great quality mat. But did you all ever think about how hard it is to ship these mats?
I know.
It's hard.
Because like it's not going to fit in your mailbox.
Yeah.
You know?
So anyway, it's very expensive to ship mats. So just thank everyone who does sell mats.
Yes, thank you, Nikapa.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so make sure to mirror it whenever you go to make it. We're going to select continue, and we are going to cut this on denim bonded. I'm going to do, y'all, this is why I said make sure to test it before you go. Because before the live, whenever I was like, I'm just going to test again before we start. The default pressure was fine, but like I used default pressure here, and look, it's tried to cut all the way through. It did cut all the way through in a lot of places. So
which that's okay.
It's
not the worst.
It's not the worst thing that could happen,
Right.
but I really like my carrier sheet to hold everything in place. And so I don't want it to cut all the way through. So on this one, I'm gonna do denim bonded, and I'm gonna do less pressure.
Wow.
Just to make sure it doesn't cut through, because those little letters are not going to be as easy to line up as the big R. So hit done there, and then we're going to do less pressure.
Y'all, let's give Alicia and the Cricut some love in the comments. Go ahead and drop them some inspiration or motivation as they're about to cut again.
Pray for me.
I'm very excited to see you weed this velvet. I don't know about everyone watching, but I'm very intrigued to see the process of the weeding. I think the applying is fine. I think the cutting will be fine. But the weeding, I'm very excited to watch.
You're more curious
I'm more curious. Who else is curious about the weeding? Let us know.
Let us know.
Yes, so good.
Okay, I'm going to weed this as best as I can. As I was showing y'all, it's kind of detached from the carrier sheet. I'm going to try to keep the carrier sheet intact as well as I can. Okay.
You got this, Alicia, Lindsay says.
Thank you, Lindsay. I'm actually going to trim off this excess because we don't want any extra annoyance. And I can save this little piece and use it for something later down the road.
That
I'm
is
watching
so
you,
fun.
Cricut. I'm watching him.
Come on, Cricut.
Come on. Come through for us.
So awesome.
So you're just going to weed this as you normally would, like HTV. You're going to weed out everything that you do not want.
Yeah.
And just be very cognizant if your carrier sheet did get cut a little bit. Be very careful.
Right.
And so there's a little bit of like leftover velvet.
Okay, you're like, this is a breeze to weed.
Oh my gosh, it weeds so good. And it's probably because it cut all the way through the carrier sheet, but you can see it's still semi-intact, which is really nice for us.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna leave that there. I'm actually gonna pop this out because it's kind of detached. And we are going to set that to the side. Y'all, it was fine. Our prayers have been answered.
Well, you haven't weeded it yet. You're not out of the woodwork.
I don't know. I feel good about it.
You feel good about it?
I got some good energy.
Okay, I have an idea for you.
Okay.
And tell me what, okay, I'm gonna give you the idea and tell me if you've already thought about it.
Okay.
After you weed it and like cut it, like with your X-Acto knife, could you place those letters right there onto the like carrier sheet to carrier sheet and then press it like just like it was all together?
Well, let's do it.
Wouldn't that be
think
cool?
you could. I think you could totally do that.
I mean, I'm sure you could do it either way.
Yeah.
Like press the R down, then the name letters, or you could like try to.
Wait, so you want me to put these letters onto here?
I want you to cut out that carrier sheet, like real close to letters, and then after you weed it, place those letter and the carrier sheet inside of the R before you press it, so it can press all together.
Okay.
What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know about it.
I don't know.
Let me just weed it first. I mean,
so
one
fun.
step at a time, everybody. One step at a time. It almost cut all the way through the carrier sheet on here too.
With less pressure.
Child. Nervous. But look, it didn't. So praise this mat.
Praise the Lord, oh my soul.
I'm going to use it for other reasons, but I don't know. I'm not sure about it.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel better.
Yeah, you do.
I feel, well, what I was going to say is I feel better pressing them separately.
Oh, do it. It's your show. I was just thinking what you thought about it.
Okay. I feel like what I want to do is press this, and then I'm going to go in and press this on top of it.
Perfect.
Okay. And so let's grab our little blankie over here.
Yeah, beautiful.
And I'm going to hold on a second. I gotta make some room over here. Keep everything like non-sticky side down. It just helps your life. Okay, so this is where I'm wanting to put it, right here. And I just want to press onto a single layer. So I'm just gonna grab this layer and kind of, if we go to camera 1, I'm just gonna kind of like open it up. I've still got my hands exactly where it's going. And actually there's like crease marks where it was folded. Okay. So let's get our little heat mat. And we're gonna slide this up and under where it's going. I'm sorry if the view of this is not ideal, but I promise we will get there. So we're just pressing on one layer of the blanket. We don't need to be pressing the entire blanket. Okay, make sure these fringes are out. We want this to be flat. Very flat. Okay.
Love it.
And just be aware of the edge of your blanket, like this bottom edge. You want to make sure you're like putting this close to the edge, but not too close. You want it to look good, you know?
Right.
Okay. Now, we need our R, our big R first. And what we're going to do, oh, my press.
Uh-oh.
Okay, it just turned off, I think. Okay, can y'all see me if I'm right here? Okay, I'm actually gonna scoot it up just a hair. Okay, so this is the area, and I'm just going to line this up. All right. Perfect. Does that look straight to y'all? It looks straight to me.
Looks good.
Okay. Maybe just a little bit. Okay, beautiful, gorgeous. Now, the first 10 seconds, we're gonna be pressing directly on to the HTV with our press for 10 seconds. So I'm gonna adjust the time to 10 here.
Perfect.
So we're going to adjust it to 10, maybe.
Just maybe.
Okay. And then I'm just going to put this right on top of here, and we're going to hit go. And I'm applying firm pressure. Okay. Do.
Allison's asking about any preheat. There was no preheat instruction?
No, but if that's something that you like to do often before you apply HTV, you can preheat it and then put it on there.
I used to preheat all things, Allison. Like, I don't know, like, I think
some people have a good habit of it.
Some people, I don't know, it seems like in general now, heat transfer vinyl, like, people don't preheat.
I know.
I love preheating.
It feels like, it kind of like,
makes sense.
It sets the foundation a little bit.
Like it just gets it ready, right?
Right,
I love it. Kim says these two colors go together. It's so good.
I know.
Kathy, do we need to prepare pre-press or lint roll? So if you like to lint roll, feel free. But remember, this would be similar to regular heat transfer vinyl. So you might be in a sublimation mindset where you lint roll, you lint roll, you lint roll. Wouldn't necessarily be the same reasonings to lint roll today. Great question.
So this is for 15 seconds with the Teflon sheet for the second press.
Oh, so wonder what that Teflon sheet's doing. Why would, you know what I mean? Like, wonder what.
Well, you know, like I know with puff or like brick, you don't want to overwork the substance that you're pressing. So like if you're doing a thicker material, you don't want to like overheat it. Yeah. Honestly, velvet, this velvet I would guess is a synthetic material. And so it could potentially melt it.
Sure.
That's my theory. I just was following the rules, but I think that's probably why. Yeah. Okay. And so you want to let it cool for at least a minute so we can...
So is this a cold peel?
It's like a cool...
A cool peel. Like not like a warm peel, not a hot peel, a cool peel, but not cold.
We just want to wait a minute.
Yeah.
We don't want to pull it up, and we want to make sure that it's like adhered, so we don't want to start tugging at it and pulling the carrier sheet unless it's completely adhered to the blanket.
Donna's asking how much pressure are we putting?
You know, I'm just putting my weight into it. I would tell you how much I weigh, but I won't do that. I won't do that.
So you're just normal pressure you would use for heat transfer vinyl?
Yeah, well, a little, I mean, I'm kind of like leaning into it. Yeah. So just put your body weight on top of it. Perfect. And I feel like if you have a heat press, you could probably do the same thing with a heat press.
Yeah.
So.
Lisa, and this is a cooler peel. So we're letting it sit for a minute.
Yeah, it's not like DTF when it's like completely cold. But we just want to wait for a minute. Okay. Yeah, so it's still warm, but we've waited a little bit, so we're good. And so I'm going to very carefully pull this off. Ooh, she's so pretty.
Oh my gosh, it is on so well.
It is, and it looks gorgeous. Look at that, y'all. Isn't that not beautiful?
Yeah, it looks awesome.
Y'all, these would be such good Christmas gifts or like wedding gift.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So there it is. Is that not beautiful? I'm not going to show you the finished product until we get the last thing on there, but okay, let's line this up. Now, if we didn't have to recut it, it would have been nice because we would just have to do the one press. Since we did press this already, I don't want to apply heat directly to the velvet that's exposed. So I'm going to put a Teflon sheet to cover.
Awesome.
Yeah,
so
I'm just
smart.
gonna cover
And for
that.
everyone that was worried earlier about the residue, what you were noticing and what you were worried about was the velvet remnants. And what is really neat is those velvet remnants was attached to the adhesive backer. They were not going to transfer when the heat activated it because they had no adhesive.
Yes.
So that's just something to be aware of when you're looking at that and reasons to be totally fine with the press.
I thought the same. I was worried the same thing when I first did it. I was like, oh, I don't know. I think that's going to stick to it, but it's totally fine.
Yeah, it totally is good. Yeah.
Okay, and then I can just remove this. I just used that leftover.
I love that. What a hack.
And then we're going to put this on top of everything, and we're going to go in for 15 seconds again. And I have not done 2 layers of the velvet before, so we're going to see if it affects the big R right here live.
I think it'll be fine.
I think it'll be fine too.
Totally fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not.
We're professionals, Alicia.
We're profesh.
Right. We've been around the block.
Renee says, I admit I was holding my breath.
Everyone was worried about it. I love that. And the cool part is like you got to see what happened and you didn't risk anything, right? We risked it for everyone.
Yes, and I didn't start the timer, so let's hope that was about 15 seconds.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we're gonna let that sit for a minute and then we will pull it off.
I think this could work on cotton towels. Like if you're talking about terry cloth towels, you would have the same problem you would with regular heat transfer vinyl. It's textured.
Yeah.
So if you were like actively using it, but again, if it's decorative, you should be totally fine.
Yeah, for sure. Ginger asked, what font would you suggest for bridesmaids robes with this velvet? Gypsy with a slight offset, because it's kind of like a dainty handwritten font. It's a script, but I would add a like a 0.05 offset onto it and then cut that offset out so it's not too thin. But yeah, that would be so pretty. I'm like, who's getting married?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I need to make these for somebody.
Everybody's on to their second baby. All our friends have already got married.
It's like everyone's turning 30. Everyone's married. Okay, and then we are just going to slowly remove our carrier sheets.
Yes.
All right, you guys.
Look at this.
I mean,
so
come
beautiful.
on. That is just too good.
Bougie.
Let's get close. Like, are you guys kidding me? Look, it like folds with the blanket. You can't even tell.
It's awesome.
I love it. The second sheet, we were using that Teflon sheet for the second one in order to prevent overworking the velvet or the adhesive. So,
perfect.
Gypsy's my current favorite too, Tina. I use it for everything. Okay. Yay. What do you guys think?
I love it.